BJP MP Pragya Thakur has triggered a massive controversy after she referred to Mahatma Gandhi's assassin Nathuram Godse as a deshbhakt during a debate in Lok Sabha. Listen in.
She made a statement. Godse made a statement. I may be permitted to read a few sentences. I quote, "The accumulating provocation of 32 years, culminating in his last
Well, that was in fact DMK's A. Raja attempting to make a point in the Lok Sabha, wherein he was in fact talking about Nathuram Godse as to how his different philosophy, his different ideology ensured that he went ahead and murdered the Mahatma of the nation, Mahatma Gandhi. To which Sadhvi Pragya in fact raised an objection. She said, you cannot give examples of deshbhakts. In the moment she said that, BJP MPs around her asked her to sit down and immediately calm down. When DMK member A. Raja cited a statement of Godse on why he killed Mahatma Gandhi during a discussion on the Special Protection Group, the SPG amendment bill that was tabled, that is when this entire scene really played out. Now, in fact, Raja said that Godse himself admitted that he had nursed a grudge against Gandhi for 32 years before finally decided to assassinate him, is what DMK's A. Raja had to say. And that apart, while the opposition members indeed protested the interruption by Thakur, the BJP members persuaded her to sit down post her comment, and security should be based on threat perception and not because of political reasons, is what Raja said. And Congress has taken strong objection to what Sadhvi Pragya Thakur has done on the floor of the House, and they took to Twitter, and this is what Congress wrote. Repeatedly referring to Nathuram Godse as a deshbhakt is a perfect representation of BJP's deplorable hate politics. This is what the Congress, the National Congress Twitter handle had to say after Pragya Thakur made the deshbhakt comment on the floor of the House in the Lok Sabha. And not too long ago, before the general elections, was the first time, in fact, Sadhvi Pragya Thakur came out and equated Nathuram Godse to a patriot. So post that, yet again, she seems to have continued with her stand on Nathuram Godse. For more on this, I'm being joined in by my colleague Arun Sundaram on the phone line. Arun, it seems as though the BJP has not done its job of ensuring that Sadhvi Pragya Thakur is trained well enough to not once again equate Nathuram Godse to a patriot. She's done it again. This is the second time, the first time before the elections, and now on the floor of the House. What more do you have for us?
Well, the first instance you could have said very well that it was, let's say, in the spur of the moment. Remember, this was this heat and dust of the campaign, and presumably mistakes do occur at that point of time. You could perhaps give her the allowance of, having made a wrong statement. But this, in the hallowed hall, the place where democracy was given birth to, and barely 24 hours after the 70th anniversary of adoption of the Constitution and the nation rejoicing at that, you come across this particular statement. Now, it is very, very embarrassing because it is in the same very hall, the central hall, that we've seen certain very important and key milestones relating to the birth of this democracy and the travails and tribulations faced by this nation, where once again an unwarranted statement has been issued. Now we will have to wait and watch whether the person, the BJP MP, does a U-turn. She apologizes to the 1.3 billion people of this great nation and says, yes, it was a slip of the tongue, I did not mean it. We will have to wait and watch, but clearly it appears that she is using this particular reference all too very frequently. Whether the Saffron party will now act against her remains to be seen, Adarsh.
That indeed is a big question. Many thanks, Arun, for joining us with your insights. In fact, it is very important that we take a Congress perspective on this very matter. We have just shown you as to what the Congress wrote on its Twitter handle. But nonetheless, joining me on the phone line is a representative of the Congress party, MN Suraj Hegde. Many thanks, Mr. Suraj, for joining us on this broadcast. First up, I'm sure you're abreast as to what Sadhvi Pragya Singh Thakur has said in the floor of the House. This is the second time she's equated Nathuram Godse to a deshbhakt. Your opening remarks.
I think this has been not second time. This she's been doing again and again and again. It's not new at all. She is a person who's got many cases against her.
Yes.
First of all, I don't know how the BJP party decided to field her as a candidate. Then after that, after she's won, she's made repeated statements with it. But once again, she gets promoted. Now she's been put on the defense panel of the country.
Mr. Suraj, in fact, I'm sure you're really irked with this development. We also have on the phone line BJP's representative in the form of Go Madhusudan. Mr. Madhusudan, many thanks for joining us on this broadcast. The essential question that Suraj Hegde is asking at this point is as to why she's still occupying a post and why isn't the BJP really doing anything about the kind of remarks she's making. What do you have in your defense?
She has already given a reason. You may say it is an excuse, but it may be with her. It's a slip of the tongue, that's all. No more discussion we would like to have on that.
Mr. Madhusudan, it was definitely...
Let the Congress representative just tell me how these fellows are lining up with Bharat ke tukde tukde honge. Inshallah, inshallah. Afzal Guru Zindabad, Afzal Guru Zindabad. How can they line up with them?
Sir, please don't even talk something which you can't prove. That matter is sub judice. Even now the court. So please don't try to malign somebody and put allegations telling that they are lined up and all that.
What is that going on?
One minute.
Gentlemen, let me moderate this. Gentlemen, Mr. Suraj Hegde, Mr. Madhusudan, kindly calm down. Let me moderate this. See, essentially, right now, the matter at hand is not Bharat Tere Tukde Honge. It is about Sadhvi Pragya on the floor of the House just moments back, equating Nathuram Godse once again to deshbhakt. This is an insult. This is an insult to 1.2 billion people of the country.
Insult and all these things are different. She has told that it is a slip of the tongue.
It's not a slip of the tongue. In fact, if I were to tell you, DMK's A. Raja was making a point. He was speaking about how Sadhvi Pragya Singh Thakur's philosophy, in a sense, was very different from Mahatma Gandhi's, and that is what, Nathuram Godse's philosophy was very different from that of Mahatma Gandhi, which in fact made him go ahead and take that extreme step. So that is when you had Sadhvi Pragya Singh Thakur suddenly stand up and say, please not give the examples of deshbhakts. So there was no slip of the tongue. She clearly knew what she was doing.
And it is in the floor of the House, in the Lok Sabha.
She has expressed her. She has expressed it herself that it is a slip of the tongue.
How many times slip of the tongue, sir?
Many times it may happen, sir. Many times it may happen. It has happened with our Siddaramaiah. Many times he says that he is Gadgadhar. It happens with Deve Gowda. It happens with Kumar Swamy.
Okay, 1 minute.
It happens with many fellows. With Rahul Gandhi, it is very common with Rahul Gandhi.
What you can do is only talk and try to talk over it and try to put the matter out, but that is not the truth. You did not want to name a bridge under name Nathuram Godse's name.
See, I tell you whether Nathuram Godse was a patriot or a traitor is something different. Now you tell me how can you line up with Bharat ke tukde honge, inshallah. And you are accusing.
Again, we're really diverting, gentlemen. On a lighter note, again, in fact, you were talking about slip of tongue. It just reminds me as to how MTB Nagaraj, who is now with the BJP, had a slip of the tongue and he said, Jai Congress.
Line up with those traitors. But you willfully line up with those fellows who praise the man who bombarded Parliament, Afzal Guru.
The person who has killed the Mahatma of this country.
You tell me, the man who tried to kill the democracy of the country, who wanted to bombard the Parliament Bhavan, and you line up with them and say, Afzal Guru Zindabad, and you line up with them.
See, when you don't have a point to defend, this is all you do.
Mr. Madhusudan,
anything.
again, gentlemen, I'd like to moderate this. Mr. Madhusudan, it almost looks as though this is your defense. It's almost like you're justifying it. If the Congress does this, then so can the BJP. If the Congress aligns itself with a certain ideology, then are you in a sense indicating that the BJP can go ahead with something like this?
No.
Then first it needs to be accepted that it wasn't a slip of the tongue.
Modi has condemned it. Modi has condemned it. And she has told that it is a slip of the tongue. That's all. What do you want to?
Mr. Madhusudan, this condemnation really does not go a long way.
She has told it is a slip of the tongue.
This is more to do with ideology and not really slip of the tongue. We clearly know the kind of ideology that Sadhvi Pragya Thakur carries. Yes.
But we know where the Congress stands today.
Yeah, we know where the BJP
Congress stands with those who are against Vande Mataram,
Please.
who are against tricolor flag, who are against the country, who are against the parliament.
Please allow me to put my point across.
Please go ahead, Mr. Suraj.
Just 1 minute, sir. Listen to people also. You want to name a bridge on his name. That is also slip of the tongue. You want to make a name and road in the name of Nathuram Godse. That's also slip of the tongue. What nonsense the people are trying to tell the country?
No, she has told it is a slip of the tongue. Why do you want to argue on that?
It is slip of the tongue.
Why do you want to argue on the same matter again and again? She has told it is a slip of the tongue.
You want to name a street on the name of Nathuram Godse. You want to name a bridge on the name of Nathuram Godse. And it's just slip of the tongue.
No, I tell you.
What are you trying to tell?
She has told it. She has told it is a slip of the tongue. What do you want?
So why do you name this bridge on the name then?
No, I tell you.
Do you endorse the view that she is Nathuram Godse? Do you endorse that?
She herself says it is a slip of the tongue.
Sir, forget people.
What do you want? What do you want then?
The government in MP has named the bridge.
Mr. Madhusudan,
true?
I'd like to pose a question once again. Let's take this very smooth and calmly. See, DMK's A. Raja was addressing the Lok Sabha. He was speaking about the SPG bill. So it was not Sadhvi Pragya Thakur who was addressing the House. It was A. Raja, and he spoke about Nathuram Godse assassinating Mahatma Gandhi, and that is when you had Sadhvi Pragya Thakur raising herself, and she says that you cannot speak about deshbhakts like that. So how can that be a slip of the tongue? It's about ideology, Mr. Go Madhusudan. And the more important question here is, when will the BJP really take this matter seriously? When will they really go ahead and talk to her and ensure that she does not repeat herself like this unnecessarily and again prove to be a liability for the BJP?
No, the promoter, actually the next minister in the government.
All these things are taken note. All these things are taken note. And she has expressed it as a slip of the tongue, and we will leave the matter.
Again, the slip of the tongue, and it almost seems as though only note-taking is going on. But yes,
she will be suitably guided. That's all.
Mr. Suraj Hegde, your response?
Yeah, they will not do anything to this. Instead, actually, for 60 letters, they will reward her with a ministry. This is what they will do. For a period of time, that is what they will do. They will just try to tell Bush the whole thing, that's why telling it's a slip of the tongue. But actually, you see the whole of whenever somebody speaks to this, they've been either promoted as minister or been elevated in the party. They have not been told to, resign. There is no action taken on them. This is all just.
You have also done the same thing.
Yeah.
You took the man to Congress.
We are not sure on
You canvassed in favor of that man in the election.
You don't try to tell me the last name of nationalism.
Of course, you were defeated in Bihar.
You know what nationalism is. You have fought for this country's freedom. We also know what nationalism is.
Let us not, gentlemen, at this point in time, let us not really preach each other about nationalism. Let us again talk about what the BJP will really do at this point in time. Again, this is going to be it is indeed a big breaking story. So what will, on a last note, I'd like to know from you, Madhusudan, before I let both of you gentlemen leave, what will the BJP do now?
And she will be suitably guided.
Right. Many thanks, gentlemen, for joining us on this broadcast.